The echo of always. The rain was a cold, insistent drumming on the window of the little cafe where Elias first saw Elara. She was sketching in a notebook, her brow furrowed in concentration, a single stray curl escaping her messy bun. He offered her a napkin when her coffee cup left a damp ring on the page, and that simple, clumsy gesture was the beginning of everything. Their love was not a sudden explosion, but a slow, quiet sunrise. They were two halves of a sentence they didn't know they were missing. Elias, the aspiring architect who saw the world in clean, hopeful lines. Elara, the restless artist who captured fleeting emotions in strokes of charcoal. They had an understanding that went deeper than words. Their ritual was the same every Sunday, sharing a worn copy of Pablo Neruda's poetry and planning a future painted in hues of always. "Will ye always look at me like that?" Elara would ask, her eyes the color of melted amber. "Always," Elias would whisper, the word a sacred promise. For 5 years, always felt real. It was the shared rent, the mismatched socks, the fierce arguments that ended in sweeter apologies, and the silent way they held hands under the dinner table. They were saving for a small house with a bay window where Elara could watch the world and a little garden where Elias could grow herbs. The shift began subtly, a faint discord in their perfect harmony. Elias landed his dream project, a massive, career-defining building on the other side of the country. He was elated. It was everything he'd worked for. Elara tried to be, but the joy felt heavy. "It's only for a year, maybe 2, he rationalized, his voice bright with ambition. "Then we'll have the money for 2 bay windows, my love." Elara looked at her easel, the half-finished canvas mocking her. Her roots were here, her gallery, her friends, her history. She couldn't leave the colors of her life behind. The distance wasn't geographical. It was an emotional canyon opening up between them. A phone call started with easy laughter and ended in strained silence. The always began to fray under the pressure of different time zones and different priorities. His life became blueprints and boardroom meetings. Hers became solitary studio hours and the growing ache of absence. The night it ended, Elias was back for a whirlwind 48 hours. They ate at their favorite Italian place, and for a moment the old magic flickered. They talked about the house, the dog they would get, and the Neruda poem about never leaving. Then, walking home in the soft autumn chill, Elara stopped. She took his hand, the ring he'd given her, a simple silver band, feeling cold against his palm. "Elias," she said, her voice a low, painful rasp, "you are building a life that doesn't have room for my world." He tried to protest, listing his sacrifices, his plans. "I'm doing this for us, Elara, for the future." She shook her head, tears finally tracing clean lines down her cheeks. "No, you're building a tower, and I'm still on the ground. The truth is, we both chose our passion, and now our passions are miles apart. We can't keep destroying what we have with this distance." Elias felt a crushing weight. He saw it then, the truth he'd been avoiding. Loving her wasn't enough to merge their divergent paths. The always they'd promised each other wasn't about holding hands forever. It was about protecting the integrity of the love they shared. And sometimes, the ultimate act of love is letting go. He gently pulled the silver band off her finger, his hand trembling. He didn't say, "I love you," because it was too weak a word for the agony he felt. "Go build your masterpiece, Elias," she choked out, "and I'll paint mine." He left before dawn. Elara didn't watch him go. She just stood in their empty apartment, the silence loud and sharp. She finally picked up the half-finished canvas, a landscape of their little cafe, with two people laughing in the foreground. With a heavy, resolute hand, she painted over the figures, covering them with a thick, mournful wash of deep blue. Years passed. Elias saw his skyscraper rise, a monumental silver spike in the city skyline. He was successful, respected, but every time he looked out of his penthouse window, the view was colorless. Elara's art flourished. She held exhibitions where her paintings, abstract, emotional, and profoundly lonely, sold for fortunes. Her most famous piece was titled The Echo of Always, a canvas of stark empty blue with two faint white lines barely visible beneath the paint. One day, they passed on the street, a brief, devastating collision. He was in a tailored suit, a phone pressed to his ear. She was wearing a worn denim jacket, a smudge of charcoal on her cheek. They stopped, a silent 10 feet apart. Two strangers carrying the ghosts of their past. Elias saw the strength in her eyes, the quiet triumph, and the lingering shadow of the girl who once whispered always. He realized that by letting her go, he hadn't lost her. He had given her the space to become everything she was meant to be. He raised a hand, a half wave, a silent acknowledgement of the beautiful, impossible thing they had once shared. Elara offered a small, sad smile in return, a profound and final goodbye. Then they both turned and walked away, not towards new futures, but towards the lives they had already built in the ruins of their beautiful, heartbreaking always. The only sound was the distant city traffic, echoing the sound of two hearts learning to beat alone. Do you feel like reading a story with a different kind of emotional punch? Maybe one about betrayal or unrequited love?